You/deleted AskReddit. Have you ever flashed anyone or been flashed? What happened? Welcome to AutoGenLabs. Daily Reddit content. By robots. For the internet, only once. Walking home after being fired from work. Really lousy day. Car went by with a woman flashing beeps through the sunroof. The day picked up from there. Some buddies and I helped some college-aged ladies that had a flat tire. We stopped and changed the tire for them. As a token of gratitude, one of them flashed us before she got into her car. At the time, all of us guys were devout Mormons. I remember my buddies talking about how that sullied the good moment of service we rendered. I remained silent because I appreciated it, both the service and the token of gratitude. I was flashed collateral damage once. She meant to show my friend and I was standing with him. Still though, beep beep beep. I delivered pizza. The frequency with which this happened was not as high as one might think. But it was certainly more than zero. Flashed a cop to get out of a ticket. Immediately beaten and arrested. Didn't even let me put my member back or zip up. A welder flashed me once. Almost went blind. I was on a date and it was going extremely well. I took her home and I walked her to the door and she decided to flash me. And I joined her in her room. ECT now 4 years later that woman is my fiance. I walked past a topless girl in NYC and her chest was painted red, white, blue. Yes. I tapped the window of a popular upscale bar and flashed my beep. Quickly surprised grins ensued. Was a freshman in college. Walking with another guy who lived in my dorm building. Heading back from class. As we're heading for the door of the dorm we hear a pounding noise and look up to see a girl banging on a window a few floors up. She waves at us, turns around, hikes up her skirt and shakes her bare beep against the window before disappearing. The other guy and I just kinda give each other a look between, you don't see that every day, and damn, college is awesome. I flash my boyfriend all the time. When he's out back smoking, I'll flash him through the sliding glass door. Sometimes I even press my boobies against the glass. Delivered a pizza and a beep woman answered the door. I lived in Detroit and realized that I was going to get robbed. I told her the price and she turned to the guy in the room and said we need $. When I was 17 I got really beep and threw up on the bathroom floor and this random guy came in. While I was laying by the toilet, trying to puke into the bowl, and he whipped out his manhood and went to beep straight on my head. My friend came in and yelled at him and he left. First time I ever saw a man's privates. Not sure if that counts as flashing. Though, anyway high school was very weird for me. Girl in an elevator showed me her beep when I was in my second year in college. We ended up beep a couple days later. It's happened a lot in college. I flashed my wife once and she laughed. The year was 2002 and we were 11. My best friend Hannah and I were at my house on a warm and sunny Saturday. We had been begging my parents for months to let us walk to the local shopping center. We were relentless. You know how kids will put on performances for their parents. Like dances they make up? We would do this except we would pretend that we were attorneys arguing our case. Complete with exhibits. If we'd had access to PowerPoint, we would have made lengthy presentations. The shopping mall was a mile max from our house and the walk was on a sidewalk through a park. This is a nicer outdoor mall with Barnes & Noble and Old Navy. Nothing terribly exciting but, we were 11. This park is in a fairly affluent area, known for being safe, and frequented by moms pushing their kids in strollers and folks jogging. My parents finally broke and agreed to let us walk, but we took my mom's Verizon flip phone because 11-year-olds didn't have phones in 2002. We were pumped about our newfound independence. But even as 6th graders we were true crime obsessed. On our adventure, we talked about a contingency plan in case we were to encounter foul play. There was a small portion of our walk that was isolated by trees and you couldn't see the main road. As we were walking, a man in his 40s or 50s rode by us on a moped and waved to us. This was strange. We were walking on sidewalk and anything with a motor is prohibited. We started joking about the moped man and how we needed to formulate a plan in case he was dangerous. As we continued to walk, we saw moped man up ahead. He had parked his moped and was sitting on a bench. We glanced at each other because all of our spidey senses were tingling. Just for good measure, I opened my flip phone and pre-dialed my dad's cell number and had my finger on the call button. As we approached him, he stood up and was facing away from us. When we walked by, he turned around and looked us dead in the eye, with a huge smile on his face, and exposed his beak to us. Unfortunately, this memory is etched into my brain forever, and I can unequivocally say that this was the worst beep ever. To be frank, up until this point in my life I had never seen adult male genitalia and this was a very unpleasant introduction. Like a beep mole rat or a mutant groundhog, my best friend and I were in shock and we continued walking quickly. I remember after about 15 seconds of silence I said, "Did he just And she said, yeah. Run. We took off running as fast as we could and I pressed the call button. My dad answered and I immediately yelled, Dad, come get us right now. We were in the park and some man just showed us his you know what. I will never forget the fear in my dad's voice as he yelled back, Emily, I'm coming, do not hang up the phone. In my other ear, I heard the moped start back up. Was he coming after us? Hannah said, into the woods. This way, and we darted to the left and ran amongst the thick trees for a couple 100 feet until we reached a creek. We went down the embankment and hid. I realize now that this was a terrible idea and we should have stayed out in the open. But once again, we were 11. I hung up on my dad and dialed 911. I whispered to the operator what had happened and that we were hiding. We heard the moped drive straight past us and breathed a sigh of relief. But we were still too afraid to come out. The operator said that my dad and the police were in the park and that it was safe for us to go back to the sidewalk and meet them. I will never forget the look on my dad's face when he saw me. He had driven over the median in the road and driven his car straight down into the park with no regard for traffic laws to get to us as quickly as possible. We gave a statement and a description to the police, but as far as I know he was never caught. I remember being fairly traumatized by this, but I think that I never truly thought he was a danger to us. In college, I took a beat, deviance and violence course, the most fascinating and disturbing class one have ever taken, and I learned that there's a name for this. Exhibitionism. I learned that about 1/10 exhibitionists will escalate and sexually assault their victims. It reminded me of this incident and how I had written it off as weird dude. Showed me his beat in the park when I was 11. Yay. Common in trailer park parties. Not the ideal men ya wanna see balls out, but I take what I can get, no beat. A guy was masturbating while facing me on the train, like standing inches away from where I was sitting. Got the beep out of there. It's so frustrating when the other team has a guy that spams flashbangs. Like, oh my god, let me play the game without being blinded every 10 seconds. When I was a kid, I flashed my neighbor accidentally. I have a very severe myopia, and growing up it wasn't any better. I was going out of the shower. At the age of 6 or 8, I don't recall. I heard someone's voice across the hallway and I thought it was my dad. I let the intrusive thoughts win. Thinking it would be a funny prank to do so, jumped out of the bathroom and screamed, ooh. There was no answer from the other side of the hallway. All I heard was a gasp and my mom saying, what are you doing? Put on some clothes. I'm sorry, IDK, what's wrong with him? And I realized I'd beep up, and went to my room to put my clothes and glasses on. Only to realize that I had flashed my neighbor, a 30-old lady and her daughter a little older than me at the time that were there just to borrow a cup of sugar. When I was a teenager, I went to a party and had a night of firsts. First time doing the beer bong and playing beer pong. A girl on the opposing team flashed her beep as a distraction and I stared those beep right in the beep and sunk a cup. My teammate was too focused on shooting, didn't see the beep, and missed his shot. Good times. Back in high school, I was in the school's drama club and during the presentation I was midway through changing costumes, but it was my time to go on stage, so one of the students that was in the club had just handed me a chair. I had to go with it on stage, and said, go now, so I went. With my blouse unbuttoned, skull, it was so embarrassing. Got flashed at a stoplight years ago. Passenger in a pickup pulled her shirt up and blew me a kiss. Smallish beep, but quite nice. I gave her a well-deserved thumbs up. The truck turned left, and I kept going straight. I used to be close friends with a couple girls in college who were really into the free the beep thing and actively wanted to be topless whenever they could comfortably, safely be. So yeah, IDK if you count that as flashing. But I've definitely played Mario Kart and Settlers of Catan with chronically topless women. It's crazy how you can kinda just adjust to anything. At first it was weird to see my pretty attractive female friends topless, especially around my girlfriend, but once we all figured out that this was who they were and wanted to be, we weren't gonna stop being friends with them. That'd be kinda beep. We just adapted. Saw an eclipse on our high school track team. White guys pulls a regular moon, then a black guy comes in from the side, skittering sideways with his pants down to obscure the white moon for a moment, then reveals it again as he keeps going. I was out walking one night, waiting at a crosswalk, and the minivan pulled across the crosswalk and stopped. The sliding door slid open and the woman who opened the door pointed to the beep woman in the middle row seat and said, what do you think about this? I said, obviously you guys have some kind of silly bet. And she lost. The door slid shut, and they were gone. Thanks for watching. This has been an AutoGenLabs production. That means that this video was created by a robot out of content on Reddit. We show all account names and list them in the description to credit the Redditor community that makes our work possible. If you like this video, Please consider subscribing to our channel. We post new videos every day. If you have any suggestions for videos you would like to see, please leave a comment. Our human department for public relations reads all of them, or won't be let out of their cages again. Goodbye.